Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to the Bernadette Jackson Podcast, where we are redefining how the world views women with daddy issues by discussing topics, sharing stories, and gaining insights, all from the perspective of a fatherless daughter. I'm your host, Bernadette, the creator of Her Way Relationship Intensive and your favorite fear investigator. If this is your first time here, here's what I want you to know. The fear of abandonment and rejection is the lens through which fatherless daughters do most things. It informs how they show up in every relationship. Most fatherless daughters are operating in the fear of abandonment cycle, and they don't even know it. Each week, I focus on a topic that highlights how fear shows up in our lives, either through conversations with others or deep dives into the insights that I have. If you'd like to know if you're on the fear of abandonment cycle, go to BernadetteJackson.com/FOA cycle and take my free assessment. Again, that's BernadetteJackson.com/FOA cycle. So today we have GunterMan, who is a high-end party MC from New York to Cali, turned relationship, motivational speaker, and life coach. He is the owner of Soapbox Stand Up and Speak, a platform giving people a place to herald their truths about life, love, relationships, self-love, and living their truth. His life is all about relationships, private video sessions, and seminar is setting people free to live the life that they so see for themselves inside their heads through open and honest dialogue and revealing exercises. Wow.
That sounds so nice.
I know, right?
Again. That's what's up.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
You already know how I feel about you. I think you are just so freaking dynamic, ever-changing. Your voice, your perspective on things, it's riveting, it's gripping, it's endearing, it pulls me in. And I'm sure you get the same effect by so many people, especially those of us who really want to know truth. We want to know, how do we operate? We want to know how we can do this thing called life better, just better, more effectively, more efficiently, more purpose-filled. So heck yeah, how am I not gonna like you?
Man, you are really gassing me up, but it feels good. I love it.
Well, no, it's true. Come on now, think about it. When you know that somebody kind of knows you, and you hear words of truth, it's different than someone that's just like kind of speaking that flattery to you. Where they say the flattery comes from your teeth out, but words of truth come from your heart out.
Right.
Yeah. So right. Of course, my words are going to hit you differently because I pay attention.
Yeah.
Pay attention, and I care.
It's true. It's true. And I mean, honestly, like, I feel like the level of friendship that we've developed in such a short period of time, like, it's just crazy to me. So I love when we get to actually talk. So this is just going to be fun for me today. So I'm just so glad that you're here. And I know the reason why, but I want you to tell my audience, how did you go from a high-end MC to a life coach and a motivational speaker? Because those two aren't really related.
Well, it's kind of the story of my life. I found that the things that I either failed at a young age or weren't good at a young age, I actually turned them all into a business. Turned them all into a business. Growing up as a kid, I didn't know how to dance. And it was proven by the time I went to a party in Harlem and I tried to dance, and everybody at the party, and when I say everyone, the majority of the party stood next to me and started making fun of the way I was dancing. I'm only like a 9-year-old kid. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Teenage kids, how are you going to pick on a little kid like that? But they did, but it left a mark. It left a mark. And I told myself, and this is true words, this is not me of this age now looking back and thinking of it. No, at that age, I said, no one will ever laugh at me in dancing again. And I poured myself into learning how to dance, being in my parents' basement in front of the mirror, and I bore holes in my parents' rug. Yeah, holes in my parents'
Wow.
rug because I would practice and practice and practice. And, back then, you had to videotape, the shows off of TV, whatever it is, Video Music Box and all those. I'm dating myself, but you get the idea. You had to videotape them or record them and then play them over and over and then watch their steps. How's those steps working out? And that's what I did over and over again till I became a known dancer in my community. Yeah. And then, back then I could tell you the ties were Michael Jackson at one time used to date Stephanie Mills. Stephanie Mills is from Mount Vernon, New York. Well, my buddy was friends with Stephanie Mills' sister, Aaliyah. Aaliyah. No, it's not Aaliyah. I'm saying her name wrong. But anyway, so friends with her, and she asked him, hey, do you have anyone that can teach LaToya and Janet Jackson private hip hop lessons? So they would actually come to Stephanie Mills' house and I would do dance lessons with them.
Get out.
And then I went on tour with LaToya Jackson.
Wow.
That's like how it all started.
Yeah.
So I turned my dancing into not being able to dance into me dancing and became a dancer choreographer. And I traveled the world over and over again, being a dancer. So I wasn't good at dancing and I turned it into a dancer. Next thing was I didn't have a good memory. At one time I was married and my wife used to want to know about, tell me about your past. Why do people ask that? Why do you want to know about someone's past? If you like who I am now, understand that the good, bad, and the ugly made me the person that I am today. Why do you want to know? Why do you want even want to know numbers and things like that? No, leave that stuff alone. Enjoy a person as is, clean slate. But no, used to ask these type of questions and I didn't really have answers because I've been on tour, I think since 11th grade in high school. So I've done so many huge things and been and traveled and done so many crazy things. It all blends. It just doesn't stick the way it might have stuck for someone else. So you want to hear specifics. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't remember, which wasn't a good thing on my part, but that's how my life was.
Right.
Well, I didn't have that great memory. So what I had to do is okay, well, you know what? I'm going to start paying attention because I'm into the word of God and I want to serve people. And I remember in the ministry saying once that if you're going to serve people, you have to pay attention to them in order to be able to give them back the things that they speak about or to ask questions according to the way that they operate. So I started to pay attention, but I paid attention to the 100th degree. I would remember dialogue and conversations and bits and pieces. And I would meet back with people and ask them, oh, how's your kids in that? What's the story with that? How did that turn on this and this and that? Now, taking that information, I then transferred it over to party entertainment, being an MC. Because by then, after I came back from tour with LaToya Jackson, I was walking through a mall and this DJ company was performing and the people in the audience on the microphone, was kind of joining in. The guy's hyping the crowd and he just so happens says, hey, does anyone know how to dance? And my friends are like, get him, Rick. Get him. Your friends will get you all. Yeah, I'm all right, done. I walked out there and I said, yo, do you have this song? He was like, oh, this guy must be really good. He's requesting the music. He's like, no, he didn't have the song. I said, just put on something with a fat beat. By then I'm I'm traveling the globe with hip hop and stuff. I could do full splits,
right?
High top fade, hair going 6 inches straight up in the air. I was super flexible. I was able to bend backwards, put my head to the ground and stand back up without even using my hands, super flexible. And I went there and I ripped it up. The crowd erupted and I left. Well, the next day, for some reason, I call it God, brought me back inside the mall. Coming in back inside the mall, a girl walked up to me and she says, hey, remember when you danced here yesterday? Well, the guy gave business cards to everyone in the area. He says, if you ever see that guy again, give him my card. Boom.
Wow.
All those, so started working for them maybe the following September because it was perfect time in my life where I wanted something more consistent. Instead of just working out as a dancer choreographer, because that's not an easy lifestyle. Even though I've done shows for the Apollo, Madison Square Garden, you kind of still kind of just float around from you're only good as your last paycheck.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when you work with people of color, they don't want to give you your money in full. Let me tell you.
Man,
Anyway, but what I did was I took that ability, started working for this company, and I found myself doing events, and I would remember large amount of the kids' names. And this is me just as a dancer, so I'm partying and calling kids out, and it's getting noticed. It's getting noticed. And me, I'm always a pusher. I'm a pusher when I say that I try to get to this new level. Like when in dancing, I wanted to get to this new level of dancing. As this memory thing, I wanted to get to new levels. So I started remembering all the kids' names at events. It might have started off with 30 back then, but then it grew to 80, then it grew to 100, then it grew to like 150. So imagine in 1 hour, I can walk around, talk to the people in the crowd during cocktail hour, introduce myself to all the kids there, and I'll remember all their names. So during the party, like there's a part called the candle lighting, where all the kids will stand next to the guest of honor, and one by one, I'll name every single kid that's sitting there at the party. So once again, something that I wasn't good at, I turned it into something that I do for a living, because that's what I'm known for in the industry, which you can, if you watch the DJ Time, if you look at the magazine, the DJ Time magazine for the month of August, I am the highlighted artist in it. Big full page, me, my energy.
Yes,
right?
Congratulations about that again.
Thank you so much. But that's where it comes from. It comes from me always pushing the levels, pushing levels. Well, even though I was successful at things that I wasn't good at, I failed in marriage. And because I failed in marriage, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. How can I be this epic MC who pays attention to all these details? But what will we do as Christians? And I kind of posted about that today. You know, we so speak the word all the time to people and quote it and post it on whatever social media, but we don't live it at home. We're not living this truth that we speak about so publicly at home. So marriage failed. And since marriage failed, I said, nah, I can't go out like that. And I'm being very honest, like it doesn't make any sense to me. So what I did was poured myself completely into finding out what love is, how to show love, what is the example of. I want to know cultural understandings, ethnic norms, habits, human habits, responses, psychology. I went back and got 3 certificates recently from Yale University because I wanted to understand what happiness was, figure out, tell me all the meats and potato of what a real relationship contains. And I realized in all the midst of all the information that how we see ourselves defines how we operate and how we see people and how we interact with the world around us.
So true. That's so true.
And this is not something that I came up by reading it in books. No, it was a self-realization. So I came up with this seminar called Life is All About Relationships, where I take people step by step through actual truths about relationships that allow them to rethink about just different compartments of relationships. But most importantly, the relationship that you have with yourself.
Yes.
The relationship you have with yourself. So talk
to
me. What
because honestly, like, I feel like that really is the most important relationship. You know, if you don't cultivate the relationship you have with yourselves, you're not going to have the types of relationships with others that you want. And even as you were talking about the last part, I was thinking about the fact that it is really easy for us to practice things that make people feel seen in a short period of time. Like a party, for instance, is only a few hours long. It's really easy for you to make the people there feel special. But when you have to do that for an extended period of time, and you have not yet, actually had those practices with yourself, this is not something that you do for yourself. It may not even be something that you think that you deserve. It isn't something that you really know how to do long term. That's how you can have, really great friendships, or where people can see you and they're like, wow, I really love his energy. He's so cool. He understood me, all that. And then you go home and you have relationships with people and they feel like they're they don't even know who this guy is. Like, I don't feel seen by you at all. It is so easy to do
Right.
that.
Because it's
So
not
yeah.
entertaining. It's not an
Right.
entertainment. I'm not there to
Right.
entertain. This is life.
Exactly.
Can you do life?
Exactly.
And what I realized is that growing up in the culture of entertainment, or even in just society as Black America, or even if you want to remove the Black part of it, just growing up in America is, men go get as much as you can, and you're not supposed to cry when you're growing up. This is like the cultural rules that don't truly serve you. So from young age, I think I started sexually active by like maybe 14, 15 years old. By the time I'm maybe 16, I'm having a number of different girls. So now you're growing this, and you're entertaining. So you're stepping off a stage and people are just throwing themselves at you. And you find out that because you grew up the way you grew up, because of the decisions that you made in these relationships, you didn't even know how to have a relationship. I got married and didn't even know how to do a relationship. What are you doing getting married?
Right.
No. So you make these decisions,
but
on your emotions and not on true foundation, on the truth that resides within you. You're just emotionally moved, and you think that's the better thing, but you don't really believe it in your core.
Yeah.
So how is it going to ever manifest something that's really, really dear and true to you? Like I do in my sharings time and time again, it's if you manipulate a situation, if you show up as a self that is not true to you, it's a form of manipulation. And in the form of manipulation, it will never, ever meet the deep desires of your heart. Any form of manipulation, even if you get what you think that you did the manipulative thing for, even if you get it, that thing that you get will never meet the deep desires of your heart. So why do it? Why do it? But this is all I knew. This is all I knew. This is what relationships was. Relationships for me was sex.
And honestly, like, coming to that truth, I think is really important, because now at least you're able to, pinpoint exactly what's been happening, get curious with yourself about like why this is, and try to move forward with some practices that actually are going to support the lifestyle that you want. But with all of that, speaking of relationships, how long have you been a girl dad? Because that has to have been like one of the longest relationships that you've had, wouldn't you say?
Yes. My daughter is, I hate to say this, she is 33 years old.
Wow.
Yes, my daughter is 33. And being of this age now, and you look at our connection, she's still, I wasn't with her mom. She still feels the effects of me not always being around. I wasn't with her mom. My daughter has never seen a relationship with her mom and me together.
Right.
We've always been apart for her whole entire life. And it's, and it's only when you get older where you really start to care about what they think, the kid thinks, and you start to see that they're making sense with the things that they're telling you. Like, it's clear, it's true.
Yeah.
Like, it's in your face. I could just remember, maybe it was even just simply as a year ago. And my daughter and I are much, much tighter, because you'll see her show up on my shows and we'll talk and stuff like that. She's even done my show. But she'll say, like, you not being around Dad really affected me. And you don't really know that if you remove 14 years when she's 19 and you ask her, because we had a really great date together, and I asked, it's like, if I could have done something better with our relationship, what could I have done? And she just looked at me. She says, I wish you would have spent more time with me.
Yeah.
That's when I started to realize, no matter what you give them, no matter like, the latest clothes, the latest gadgets, none of that stuff, none of those presents can take the place of your presence.
Yes. And I'm glad that you said that, because with everything that you've learned about yourself, how has being a girl dad taught you something new? And you started to talk about it a little bit in terms of your presence versus presence. But what could you say that you've learned about yourself and about girls as a result of your relationship with your daughter?
Well, the key thing is to listen. And I don't think it has anything to do with a girl or boy, is that kids, people want to feel like they matter. People want to feel that you're listening. People want to feel that you're watching them in the times of their joy, in the times of the things that they enjoy. And if you're absent for those things that matter to them, it leaves marks.
Yeah.
I mean, it leaves serious marks. Marks that my daughter is now 33 years old and still feeling the effect of it.
Yeah.
You know, like she now has a child. He's 7 years old. And she's like, I don't want my child feeling like how I felt growing up. And she'll tell me that. And I'll have to eat it. But joyfully, because what? I am here now. I can't do anything about the past, but I'm here now. So when you have those hard questions, when you have those hard thoughts, I have set up an environment with my daughter for her to share freely and share her truth. Exactly how it hits her is exactly the way that she should say it to me.
Honestly, like, yeah, that really right there is a gift, to be honest with you. Like, just to be able to have the freedom and the space and feel secure and safe enough to be able to say how you feel and know that it's not going to be judged or ridiculed or anything. So that I think is a really
push me away. Like, I'm close to my dad.
Exactly.
Why would I want to say something that's gonna make him want to back up?
Yeah, because a lot of it really has to do with our ego. And if we can remove our ego and really just see the person for what it is and how they're feeling in the moment, and try to remove ourselves from it and our knee-jerk reaction to defend our actions, you know, like, it really just gives them the space to just, you know, like, share freely. So I love that you said that.
You know, you got to remember that you're the adult in the situation.
Right.
She's a kid. You're the adult.
Right.
What excuses can you give to a child that's gonna make sense? That's gonna be forgive. Eat it.
Right.
Eat it.
It's so true.
Tell me what you think. You know, however it hits you. Don't try to sugarcoat it because I'm dad. No. In these moments, tell me exactly how it hits you so I can get to feel what you're feeling. My discomfort is a lesson so I know how to do better in the future. So yes, make me feel uncomfortable if it's good for you.
Right.
You know, but I also tell my daughter, like, I'm not your friend. You know, I'm your dad. So we can be friendly, but I'm not your friend. So set up an environment where she understands clearly, like, I'm dad. Like, I'm cool with my dad, but he's still my dad.
Right.
He's still my dad. But, you know, that's it. So as far as kids, period, is that paying attention to them. And this is the stuff that people don't remember. It's being there to enjoy the things that they enjoy doing. And you get to watch them. They want to see you watching them in their glory. Living out their passions, living out their dreams, supporting, showing passion, even if it's something that's off kilter that they want to do, but you're there to show up. Also, you want to lend your voice to your child. You know, if they're 19, 20, 16, 30 years old, you have to understand that the fully developed mind doesn't really come into play until you're about 21. And they say, some say from 21 to 25, and that's where that age where America gets this, you're old enough to drink because you're 21. But let's say your brain is fully developed at that time. You've only been using your fully developed brain for X amount of years by the time you get out of college. So 1 year out of college, you've only been using your fully developed mind for 1 year. I want to be able to set up an environment, and that was my goal when she was in college, that you will have my thoughts to choose from when you go through stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the shift began. Because even though you're going through some really rough things, I want you to know, no matter what it is, even if like your dad don't want to hear about this type of stuff from his daughter, but that you tell me, and that's my opinion about it, because I'm going to give you what my thoughts are regarding that situation without expecting anything from you. I'm not setting you up to get something from you. No,
Yeah.
no, I'm giving you this information that you can hold fast to, that when these challenging situations come up in the area that you shared with me, you can at least pick from my thoughts. Because if I don't set up an environment for you to pick, for me to share my opinion and my opinion to matter, you can't pick from my stuff. You might just block it because it's dad and I don't have a good relationship with my dad. My dad wasn't there for me. So you don't want that. You want to be able to set up an environment first for them to feel that that their thoughts matter. So when you share, that it's an actual pick, someone of their choices. They might not always do it, but at least it's a selection. And we as parents, that's what we're endeavoring to do. You can't make a kid do anything. I can't even make my grandson do anything if he doesn't want to. But if you set the perspective, you set the thoughts there, at least they can choose from it.
I love that you said that. So then, okay, what would you want your daughter to learn as a result of her relationship with you? So just expand a little bit on what you're saying. You want her to be able to pick from the thoughts that you've given her based on the relationship that you have. So what do you want her to learn about men as a result of her relationship with you?
How she sees men is based on, as I said in the beginning, how she sees herself. That's the truth of it. These outside situations, people are all defined by how we see ourselves. So I would teach her the importance of self-love and self-care. And she talks about this at times, how when it came to dating, it was my examples of me saying, hey, baby girl, let me take you out to dinner to show you what it's like to be on a proper date. Because that's what I used to do. I said, let me teach you what a man is supposed to do, culturally speaking, on a proper date. And she holds on to those things. So what I wanted her to take away from it is that self-worth. Not that he is doing these things for you because you need him to, and you're this lesser creature, this lesser human that needs to be taken care of by a man, but no, that you need to be appreciated and respected as a woman. And that's the stuff you want to instill in them. So as time goes on, the relationship just grows with me teaching her the importance of how she sees herself, how she shows up for herself, the importance of showing herself integrity, meaning what you say and saying what you mean and following through with it. Because if you don't do it for yourself, how are you ever going to believe another human being will actually do it for you? Even trusting yourself. Can you follow through with the things that you say you want to do or take on and become? Can you follow through and trust yourself to see it through to the finish? Because if you don't, how would you ever expect someone else that isn't you to ever do it? But if you do it for yourself, you know that it's possible, because I've done it for myself. So other people, I can trust you as my man not to step out on me, because I know that I can trust myself as your woman not to step out on you. But if you can't do it for yourself, you can't really, really fathom someone else doing it for you.
Yeah.
Also the other side of it is that understanding the other person is not you, which is one of the very first things I teach in Life is All About Relationship seminar. It's really remembering that no matter how much time you spend with someone, how much support you share, you're there for them, how many times you have been through epic moments with them, they will never always think, respond, handle, address in a timely fashion the way that you would. No matter how much you pour yourself into them, no matter how much you love them and how much they love you, they're never going to always feel the way you feel about particular situations. They're never going to react the same way. They're never going to step up to the plate like you may in areas that you think like, it's so clear. Can't you see that I'm this? Can't you see how I do things? No. Because if it's not naturally from them, they always have to be reminded of it before they can act on it.
Right.
And even if you say, but I just told you, no, it doesn't work that way. And I liken it to sports. I grew up a baseball player. So in order to play baseball and to hit, you had to separate your feet, you had to you had to hold the bat, keep your elbow up, and you keep the head locked on the ball. And the coach can I just told you what to do. And then you swing, your head turns, your back doesn't go straight, and all these things, because you have to learn it. You have to learn these things, no matter how passionate. I am passionate about baseball, but I will still mess up on my swing. I want to do it right, but I will mess up on my swing because I have to learn it. And the same thing in relationships. If you teach your guy a new thing about you or what you prefer and how you like things being done or said or handled or addressed, they have to learn it. And you gotta give them the grace to learn it. Now, if things are not done out of malice, that's another angle. Did he or she do that out of malice? And if it wasn't done out of malice, come on. They're just seeing things different than you are. Can you live with being in a relationship like that? Because all relationships are like that.
Right. And I love all of the advice that you gave, because I really feel like every single one of them really hit the note that it needed to hit. But I want to just go back a little bit to something that you were saying earlier. You were talking about the fact that you did not know in your 20s how to have relationships, and what you thought, relationships were really just encounters with women and whatnot. And it was easy for you to have these encounters because of the work that you did and who you're around and all of that stuff. So do you think that having a daughter actually changed the way you treated women or your view of women?
I would say probably not. Why? Because you when it comes to relationships, you know how we people have a way of separating. Like, would you ever do that to your mother? You're like, but mom is different.
That's so real. Yeah.
Isn't it? Come on, I you know me, I'm coming with all the truth. I don't hide none of this. This is what I'm known for.
Yeah.
Like, you have a way of, that's my daughter. Like how are you running from, but I can say this, and this is my absolute truth, that I never went on a woman hunt. I never went to say, well, I'm going to go to this place so I can meet somebody, so I can get me a little something. Never, because my heart grew up close to my mom, under my mom's foot. That whole mama's boy, that was me. From a young age, I was able to cook. I could sew clothes, wash clothes, all the domestic things you would title as a woman, I would do.
Yeah.
Not my sisters. My sisters can't. No, they still this day, they still are not great cookers. Don't take that part out. But they already know. They know they're not great because I'm the cook. I'm the one who would get up on the holidays early in the morning and sit with my mom to do whatever we're cooking, to do that with her. But even that wouldn't impact, because what you do, you just fall back into what you think is a regular relationship. You fall right back into the routine of what you think a regular relationship is. You're not thinking of it as because I had a girl, I better treat women better. No, you ain't thinking none of that. None of that. What you're thinking of is that what's going to satisfy that urge? What's going to satisfy the desire to be connected to someone? Because like I said, I've never got into a relationship thinking that and that. It's a lot of relationships.
Right.
I never got into the 2-week relationship, 3-week relationship, 6-month relationship, 3-week month, all those type of relationships with the intention that I'm just trying to get that. So my thing is that I really connected with you at some moment. Some moment I connected with you. And then being an entertainer, you ride with the energy of the moment. But when it got serious, like, how do you work through situations? No, I was just so used to relationships kind of just fading.
Yeah.
And not even knowing, how did the relationship end? No clue. When I say
Mm-hmm.
no clue how the relationship came to an end. All I know, I just wasn't spending a whole lot more time with them. To the
Wow.
next one, to the next one, to the next one. And then, of course, there's a time when you're like seeing a whole bunch
Yeah.
at the exact time. Woo! And not even care, not even what the hell is that? But here's where I tell people the importance of getting a relationship life coach or a therapist, because you're operating from a place and space that you're just not fully thinking about. Why do you do the things you do? Why do you say the things you say? Why do you respond the way you respond? Why do you act the way you act? Why do you prefer certain things? It comes from some source deep inside yourself. So unless you can have someone on the outside listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth, watching your facial expressions, you may never know that you grew up with abandonment issues. Abandonment issues.
It's so
my
true.
mom was sick a lot. Now, my mom and dad, I grew up, I'm probably one of the rare ones. I grew up with my mom and dad together. They're still together to this day. So I grew up with a mom and dad in the house. But my dad grew up as the what we call it when your parents, that the silent parent, when your parent doesn't really give you the emotion connection.
Oh, yeah. So his parent was probably emotionally unavailable.
Well,
or like one of those silent parents.
Silent parents, not emotional, because my dad was a jokey type and laughy type. So that was there. But I never had like a birds and bee conversation with my dad. That came from my mom. My dad raised me the way his dad raised him, which there was no real about life conversations that took place between my dad and myself until I was much older. But as a young teen, no, my information came from my mom and just came from the neighborhood or came from the streets. That's how I learned it. So, but my mom being sick all the time and my dad having to pour himself into constantly having to go to the hospital to watch my mom. When I say my mom was in and out the hospital, it was a lifetime of in and out the hospital. But I would have to get dropped off because it's two sisters and just me. The sisters will stay together. I'm assuming, I'm only a kid, but the boy, me, always got sent off to aunties, uncles, friends to stay.
Okay.
So constantly being sent off. Mom is sick, situations get that, go stay with this person. Go, and I'm always being sent by myself, never with my sisters, always by myself. Who knew that was leaving marks on me about being less valued and abandoned?
Right.
So in relationships, how do you transfer that to relationships? You're in relationships, and as soon as things get a little tough or rough, you're like, move on. She's not going to stay anyway. She's not going to stay anyway. Let me just move on to the next one. Or the moment was really good. We had a lot of fun. Move on to the next one. Move on to the next one. And that came from not knowing my whys. So I'm operating in relationships according to this abandonment thing, not feeling truly valued, and even getting married under that same mindset. So how do you argue when you feel that the person's not going to be there anyway?
Yeah.
You argue with like, oh, you're not going to be around anyway, so F you.
Yeah.
No, I plan on staying. I know what you've been through, but you don't know these things until you have someone listening to your choice of words that are coming out your mouth. A life coach, someone that has studied and understands relationships. They want to listen. They're listening to the things, these key things that are coming out your mouth that tells the story that you do not say with your words.
That honestly, that is so true. And I feel like you need that lens, that outside lens, because it really does help to put things into perspective for you as well. Because a lot of times the things that are in your head, you don't even get to really process them until they're either out on paper, you can see them in front of you, you can hear them, somebody can speak them back to you. Then your brain can start to process it in a way where, you can actually take action on it or really start to think about, okay, how has this affected affected me. So you're so right about that. And a lot of us don't even realize the issues that we have and the things that we hold on to and the coping mechanisms that we still use today, the defenses that we put up. None of that. We don't understand any of it because we're not taught how to process our emotions with our families. As good as our families are, most of them don't understand how to process emotions. They're not teaching you how to do that.
It's
You don't
generational.
you really don't even understand how you're feeling about things most of the time because you're just like on to the next, on to the next. And it really does create a cycle. So everything that you said there is so true. So with that then, what would be one piece of advice that you would give a young lady who's growing up without her father? What would you say to her?
Before we get back into this week's goodness, I want to invite you to join my private Facebook community, H.E.R Coalition. I make it my business to create safe spaces for fatherless daughters to learn, grow, and heal, and H.E.R Coalition does just that. We go deeper into conversations about the things that we discuss here on the podcast. I teach a new topic weekly, we share stories, and we just support and love each other. It's a space I wish I had growing up when I was clueless about how my fatherlessness affected me and yearning for a deeper connection. But I was just too paralyzed with the fear of rejection. Healing happens in community with like-minded and like-hearted people, and I would love to be in community with you. So join H.E.R Coalition at BernadetteJackson.com/community. The ladies of H.E.R Coalition get to choose the topic of weekly discussions, they get exclusive access to events, and first dibs on all that my brand has to offer. So again, join me in H.E.R Coalition at BernadetteJackson.com/community.
Well, because I'm someone of faith, I would remind them to sway towards the higher power. For me, it's God through the way Jesus Christ. You know, it's to find a standard that's never failing, not people, because people are there's nothing perfect in the flesh. People are going to fail you. Your people are going to lie. You are going to lie in situations. So find a foundation that's forever standing, that when proven, it works over and over and over again. And then let that standard define who you are. Let it tell you how beautifully and wonderfully made you are. Let it remind you about the power that you have inside you because of what God did through his son, Jesus Christ. Because when you start to let the truth of who you are in the word define you, comments, denials, what you think are denials or protections that happen to you through people won't leave deep-rooted gashes of pain on your person, on your mental. Because when you believe that God is your sufficiency in all things, what imperfectly perfect man, human being, can actually deny you? What can they deny you? There is nothing that is meant for you that can be stopped by another human being.
Right.
So when you operate, you're going to operate probably with a more kinder spirit. Be kind in your responses. Be patient in your responses, because it allows you to remind yourself time and time again that your actions or inactions don't define me. So I don't have to get straight out angry, because if you're not the right person for me, if you're not my people, I'm okay with that. Yes, I am crazy about you. I think that you're fine and I would want to be with you because of the things, but that doesn't mean that we're in alignment. I can be connected. I can feel connection. I can feel an attraction, but our attractions and our connections do not define or makes automatically you being in alignment with that person. And alignment is important, because alignment means that you're going to honor a certain standard, a certain core needs that are within you, that's going to say what's right for you and what's not right for you. Because oftentimes when you're in a relationship, say if you're the good one, the way you see yourself, I'm the good one in the relationship, you may never think of, what did I actually do when you look at the relationship, where girls like, what did I actually do in the relationship where it was you that was me who did something negative first? No, it's always you who did something negative first, and we're arguing about that. But when we take that mindset, we also forget that the villain stuff that we do to ourselves, because you may never have done anything negative to the person, but what you have done is something negative to yourself by allowing things that weren't your truth, that weren't your comfort, that weren't best for the person that you are. You allowed it to exist in your presence over and over again, that it became a norm to the other person, that you became a villain to yourself.
Yeah.
And you're the one who did such damage to yourself.
That is so good. That's so good. A lot of us don't even realize how important it is to practice prioritizing ourselves, our needs, our desires, our goals, like just having a standard that we set that is unshakable, so that we don't get into relationships with people that are not in alignment. Because, what you said is spot on. Like, when things are not in alignment, it throws you off in such a way that you don't even recognize yourself sometimes. And the fact that you keep dying to self, where you're just like settling for these things, and you're, allowing these mistakes or these things that trigger you over and over again to happen, all you are doing is telling yourself that you're not worthy of, being in full focus, that what you need and what you desire is not something that should be the focus. And your brain actually picks up on that. And then it really just starts to just make you forget about the things that you need. You're not even thinking about your goals anymore. You've lost sight of who you are as a person. You don't prioritize your needs. You're miserable in the relationship, and you're staying there because you feel like you have to. And it's just a cycle. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, like you can't believe for better.
Right.
And you know how many people that I know that are into God, that just they're in situations like you're not believing for better. You're not, you don't see it because your past has never showed you it. So you can't believe that it's good. It will be, that it will be. But you're supposed to remind yourself that my past is my past. It should not define what I expect in the future. It should not define what I expect in the future, but oftentimes it does. Because what you focus on is what you draw near to you. The frequency you operate on is what you're going to continue to draw near to you. So if you had a problem with daddy issues, guess who you're going to find? A bunch of men who are emotionally disconnected. You're going to keep attracting that and wonder, like, why are these men always the same? The names are changing, but at the root, they're all the same, because the root is you. Yeah. You have to change the way you feel about you and what you believe is available in order for anything else to come your way, new to come your way. And then there's the tricky part to this new thing coming your way. Getting the new thing and not treating it like the old.
Yes. Actually accepting that new thing as being something that's possible for you and something that you deserve. Like that right there. Look.
No.
So true. Man, you dropped so many gems in this conversation, and I just want to ask you 5 more questions. We're going to do one quick segment called Bernadette's Quick 5. I'm going to ask you these 5 questions, and then you're just going to tell me the first thing that comes to mind. You ready?
Go for it.
All right. Okay. How would you like to be affirmed as a father?
Affirmed? As in like a verbal affirmation?
Yeah. Or any way that you see it in your mind. No right or wrong answers.
Affirmed. Well, my love language is acts of service. And then physical touch. So it would have to be in some way, shape, or form, my daughter giving of herself in a way that meets a core need of mine. That builds a stronger connection between us two, as well as her physical being next to me to hug me and to say, I love you, Dad. And I can feel it in her touch.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. Would you be happy if your 18-year-old daughter brought home the 20-year-old version of you?
Oh, hell no. But here's, all joking aside, that's a typical dad answer. My 20-year-old me had skills.
Mm-hmm.
Skills, because kind of growing up fast and having the ability, because I went to school for engineering. So this mind was there, even though I wasn't using it all the time. This mind was there. I loved meeting parents.
Okay.
Because I was so well-rounded with things that, to this day, I still say the same line, that I am filled with useless information until it is useful. I am filled with that. Facts and figures, understanding, deeper understandings than the normal kids my age. So meeting someone's parents would have wowed the parent, because I was well-rounded. I was very comfortable meeting someone's parents. But at the core of still believing that this person won't stay with me, no matter what she did, and especially if she did wrong by me, which happens to everyone. Everyone is not going to do things according to the way I feel or the way I see things, the way I prefer them. So at one point or another, somewhere along the line, I'm going to disappear and leave her with just her thoughts and wondering what happened. Because I almost always come off as like, this guy's really a good one. He's a good one. So if I mess up on a good one, what's my worth?
Wow, that's something. Okay, so then third question, what is your hope for your daughter? You said that she's 33. What do you hope for her?
Love for self, and really believe it. You know, the man will come, the situation will come, but it's all her to operate at a frequency that's true to her. Because it's not simply just loving yourself and caring for yourself, because we often could think of lavish things to take care of some of the things that we love, but it's being able to operate in your truth, meaning that almost all relationships that you've had in the past, that she has had in the past, that I've had in my past, failed because at some point we stopped living our truth. Somewhere along the line, we started accepting things that weren't best for our comfort zone. We started looking past the red flags that we clearly could see and became selfish, became self-centered. People don't realize that whenever you look past a red flag, what you're actually doing is saying that I like this part of that person, this part of that person, and this part of the person. All the other stuff, I guess I could just do without. But as long as I keep getting those three things, I'm good to go. I'm good to go. No, you became selfish. You actually held on to someone that wasn't meant for you for your own gratification. But all you see when you tell the story to your friends is what that person didn't do right, what that person didn't do this. After all the stuff that I did, how are you not doing? No, we still see it as we're the hero or the victim, but we never see ourselves as a villain. And more importantly, a villain to ourselves.
Yeah, that right there is so true.
So I would want her to come away. I would want her to come away with a real ability to show up in her truth, no matter what. In the hard moments, still speak the truth. And those are the things that matter. Those are the things that's going to allow you to understand that if you remove the manipulation and just keep showing yourself, you're going to get more of the things that are going to meet your deep desires than the things that are going to fulfill your preferences. Preferences aren't always good for you.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so your daughter's old enough to date now without, permission or, having to come to the house and daddy, has to meet the guy. But when she was first dating, what would have been the warning that you would have given the young man, or the piece of advice that you would have given the young man who was taking your daughter out on her first date?
I think she fell in love with someone, loosely word, fell in love, someone from when she was in like 8th grade. And by the time she got to high school, she's fully dating, 16, already having sex. So when I met the person, it's a weird thing, because at such a young age, he's not going to treat her right.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I met him, the presence I saw about him wasn't like he was really caring about her, but how much care can you show from a 16, 17, 18-year-old boy?
Yeah.
Like you just happy to be having sex, someone that's willing to have sex with me. That you're talking, what more to the relationship could it really be?
Mm-hmm.
So if I had an opportunity to speak to the boy, he says, I would tell them, be careful with how you treat this because it will affect you.
Mm-hmm.
It will define the life that you live. The lack of care for another soul will define the life that you will receive in the future. So care for who comes into your presence now, understanding that with the care that you show towards another human life will be reflected back to you years to come.
That's gold right there. That's really good. I got one final question for you.
Talk to me.
What form of protection would you give your daughter to keep her safe in the streets?
Form of protection. Now you're not talking sexually, right?
No.
You're
No.
talking what she could hold fast to and run with aggressively, knowing that she is safe. The word, and nothing but the word. Trust in
Okay.
God.
Mm-hmm.
Trust in his ways over your ways. Trust in his words over your feelings. Trust in the truth that he speaks about you over the things that have fallen short time and time again. Because what you may see as a denial, God is doing as a protection.
Yeah.
So when you can fall back and understand on his everlasting loving arms that there are words and truths and means and powers that you can have access to even at a young age, that when you are fully equipped and ready to take on the world, there's a beautiful glory that comes with knowing that if I am living my calling, if I am pursuing my purpose, I shall not fall short.
Mm-hmm.
There's a comfort knowing that no matter what you put your hand to, as long as it was honored and respected by God, that it shall absolutely come to pass. You are not fluttering and wondering, could I do? No, could I be? No, I am, because God has made me that. He has made it available for me to stand and withstand any situation that comes my way. That's the greatest source of power, when you can walk with the confidence. The confidence is not arrogant, but with the confidence says, I own this side of the street because my God got me, and I'm thinking about purchasing the other side because it's available. I am equipped with that type of power.
GunterMan, like you said so much during this conversation. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, of course. This is my pleasure. I really do. I really love this stuff.
Yeah.
You're like, who knew that a man who failed at something could dominate in something?
But you know what though? Like, I feel like the people who have had these kinds of experiences really make the best teachers because they've been exactly where their students are. You can speak so well and so eloquently to exactly what a person is feeling in that moment because you've been there. And those are, they make the best teachers.
That's
so
big.
Yeah.
But the catch with it is being a teacher that have dug away at their whys.
Right.
You just can't say because I know it, because I've been through it, I'm going to have the right answers for no. Just because I've been through it doesn't mean I'm going to give you the right answers to recover from it or to find. It's one that I've learned never to give advice. I do not give the advice. I do not give people advice. I only give people perspectives. My perspectives, the way I see, because a person's never going to tell you all the truth, nor are they going to remember all the truth to the reason why certain things took place. They're not. So what you do is you take the information that's coming in, you listen to what's being said to you, you speak to the things that are being revealed to you, and then you share a perspective that allows them to see another way of seeing their situation, another way of doing their situation, another way of receiving and taking on their situation. And that alone is what we do as parents to our kids by giving them what? A choice to choose from. Because because of the choices you have made has led you to be. The very best of you has gotten you here. So unless you go and search and speak to people, you're not going to have any new sources of information to get you to a new place. Old tools do not take you to new destinations.
True.
You need new tools, and you have to be open to hear things from other people. We only know what we know, and what we know isn't everything there is to know. So you have to be open to letting your life shine so bright, to be so open with the stuff you've been through, so people can pour their light and their experiences into you, so you may grow. You can glean from it and then grow. And grow simply just means hold fast to the new perspectives that you've learned.
That honestly is so true. And you said so many things that I think my audience is really going to be able to hold fast to. And so I want you to tell everyone where they can connect with you so that they can continue to glean from this wisdom that you're sharing with us today.
Yes. Well, you could find me on Instagram at Soapbox Stand Up and Speak. Of course, you know my show every Thursday night at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on Instagram Live at, once again, Soapbox Stand Up and Speak. The GunterMan show takes place. You can always find me on Facebook. I have a bunch of different pages, but you go to my main page, Rick Hoven, GunterMan Gunter, or Rick GunterMan Gunter, and you'll find me, connect with me there. I have the Soapboxers, I have Soapbox Stand Up and Speak. And then one of my favorite groups that I put together was Dear Son, Dear Daughter, letters that people can write to their kids, or what would you like to say to yourself if you were able to hand back a letter to your 20-year-old self? What would you write to yourself to either warn, to direct, to lead, to guide, to empower, to let them know that they're already loved?
That is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure that you're going to be having some people coming over to your page just continue to hear how you speak to people and how the platform that you give for people to tell their truths. Thanks for coming on our show again, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.